Advanced and placed on its final passage, sir.
Question is, for what purpose does the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope you're well this morning.
Thank you, Senator. I hope you are as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to call attention to a packet of information that I actually had distributed to each of the senators on the table this morning on their desk. There's a letter followed by a court case here, and it says, "Dear colleagues, I write to you for your consideration in voting no to the substitute of Senate Resolution 90."
Senator, I'm so sorry to interrupt you mid-thought.
Yes.
I was just going to say it's totally appropriate to speak. I would do so, though, on agreement to the resolution. This motion is just about suspending the rules and waiving the third reading. So if you want to speak to that particular motion, you're free to do that. But if you want to wait, you can do it on the next motion.
I am happy to speak to that motion, Mr. President. I am recommending that we pass this bill by for the day again so that the senators have an opportunity to read my letter. Thank you.
Any objection to passage by for the day?
Object.
There is objection. So the pending motion is for the Senate to suspend the rules and waive the third reading, Senate Resolution 91, and to take it up for immediate consideration. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
Mr. President, I move passage of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I've said this before and I'll repeat it again. It brings me no joy to present this resolution before you today. Frankly, it was a difficult decision to use a bill slot in this pandemic to do that. However, I think the need to protect the honor of this body, it's what compelled me to proceed. I want to make it clear, this is not an issue of Democrats versus Republicans. It's not about campaigning or pandering to our bases. For me, this is an issue of right versus wrong. It's an issue of what behavior our elected officials expected to have and senators serving the Commonwealth are expected to uphold. Censorship of members isn't common. It's not a knee-jerk reaction against someone we don't agree with. It's enacted when the actions of an elected official rise to a level where the integrity and honor of our institution is at risk. I say that again, when the behavior puts the honor of our institution at risk. I've tried my best to avoid being here today, and I've discussed that before. I worked with the senior senator from Chesterfield and encouraged her to apologize, which she told me she would. That fell far short of an apology and condemnation, which would have stopped where we're at today. To me, serving in this body is the greatest honor of my life. And I believe the Senate of Virginia and what it stands for is bigger than any one of us. This body was here before us. God willing, it'll be here long after we are gone. Each of us serving today, we had different journeys to get to the seats we sit in today. Some of them were very long and hard. We knocked on many doors in bad weather. We made countless phone calls to fundraise. And most importantly, we took an extreme amount of time away from our families to serve. It's also important to note that many people overcame very difficult and challenging social and racial barriers to serve. All of us have our reasons for why we answered that call to service. For me, it was a chance to serve in the General Assembly, to try to do good for the people in my district, and to do good by working collaboratively with the people in this body from all parts of the Commonwealth. It was an opportunity to make a difference, to be part of something I believe was very special, something which is known as the Virginia Way. Promoted by former House Speaker George Wythe, the Virginia Way embodies the tradition of civility and integrity in public service. In many ways, it's the legislator's golden rule. It's the antithesis of shouting matches, winner-take-all politics, selfishness. It's built on a foundation of service before self. For over 400 years, members of the General Assembly, regardless of differences in worldview, regardless of passion on any issue, have followed the Virginia Way and have served the public according to one another respect and civility. Our military academies have honor codes. As an officer trainee, I was sworn to uphold an honor code which said I will not lie, cheat, steal, or tolerate among us anyone who does. While we don't have the same honor code in the Virginia General Assembly, the question before us today, where is our line of behavior drawn? And what will we tolerate? Some may ask where a specific behavior of a senator is defined. In response, aside from the previous description of the Virginia Way, I'll also quote Justice Potter Stewart's famous response to his ruling on how obscenity related to free speech when he wrote that he wouldn't exactly attempt to define what obscenity was, but he said, "I know it when I see it." I'm not going to read the items that are in this resolution, but I ask each of you to read them and then decide if you believe this is the conduct that is becoming a Virginia senator. In closing, I strongly believe serving in the center, as a senator in the Commonwealth of Virginia must be honorable. Members of the General Assembly have been called keepers of the flame, which is a responsibility I hold sacred. As Virginia senators, we must be held accountable for our behavior and our words. And as senators in this body, I believe we must be held to a higher standard. Unfortunately, I believe the numerous comments and behaviors of the senior senator from Chesterfield are unbecoming of a senator, and for the good of the body and to protect the long-standing honors and traditions of this institution, I believe this censure action must be passed. I renew my motion for passage. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose does Senator from James City County, Senator Norment, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the resolution.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, let me begin more for the Fourth Estate than anyone else, but let me begin by offering a disclaimer. I am only speaking as the senator from James City County in no other position whatsoever. Mr. President, as I listen to the senator's remarks, I must echo, we do not have to be here today. We absolutely, positively do not have to be here today. And I compliment the senator from Loudoun who has demonstrated enormous flexibility, compassion, and extending opportunities to avoid us being here today. He has been very gracious. My comments, Mr. President, are going to be focused on two words: hypocrisy and integrity. And I will say, Mr. President, this is not a First Amendment issue with me. It is about hypocrisy and integrity. Let me share something from an intramural experience that we've had. Just a few days ago, the senior senator from Chesapeake approached part of our leadership team. Pardon me? Oh, Chesterfield. I did it again. Cosgrove, I'm sorry. The senior senator from Chesterfield approached members of our leadership about rejoining the Senate Republican caucus. That would be the Senate Republican caucus where I am very honored to remain at least the titular leader of that caucus. She was told that if she would begin to reestablish trust, the word trust, that the members of the Senate Republican caucus could rely upon, that it would be considered. The very, very next day, we saw how the word trust was etched on her forehead. She offered what I called an apology, an appalling unapology on it. And in her social media, out of respect for our colleagues in the Senate Republican caucus that she had talked with, she said, I may go ahead and form my own party, the Patriots Party. For those of you on the other side of the aisle who may not be familiar with the Patriots Party, that is the Republican Party that is designed to vote out and provide primary challenges for people that we disagree with. The absolute hypocrisy within almost a 24-hour period, I must say, got my blood pressure up at least 2 points. Integrity. The senator from Loudoun was commenting about the history of this body, and my good friend, the senator from Williamsburg, and others in this body know my passion about the history of the Legislative Assembly in Virginia. I've spent my entire life in the historic Triangle. I had the privilege of chairing the 2007 commemoration. I was very involved in the 2019 commemoration, one aspect of which was honoring the convening of the first Legislative Assembly in this hemisphere. It is very important to me. I've also commented a number of times about what I consider the most iconic senator that I have served with since I have been in the Senate of Virginia, and that's Hunter Booker Andrews. And I have unabashedly said that he, even though he was a Democrat who was the majority leader, even though he was simultaneously the chairman of finance, he was a very dear friend and a mentor to me. In 1992, he took me aside in the corner of the Senate, and he said, Tommy, and he had known me for many years as an attorney, he said, Tommy, I think one day you may be a leader in the Senate, but remember this. When you come to the Senate of Virginia, you only bring one thing with you, and that is your personal integrity and your forthrightness. That your fellow senators must know that they can rely upon what you tell them. And if you forfeit that personal integrity, then you might as well leave, because you will not have credibility with your fellow senators on either side of the aisle, and the institutional community will not trust you whatsoever. So that is a point of integrity that I deal with. And I feel that the personal integrity has been blatantly violated on the floor of the Senate. And this was only a recent occurrence. In the appalling unapology comments that were made by the senior senator from Chesterfield, she commented that she could have filed a resolution of censure against our President Pro Tem, the senator from Portsmouth. And I heard that unequivocally. She said she did not file it. As I shared with one of our other senators on the Democratic side that I genuinely am very fond of, it's a rare occasion that I ask a question that I don't know the answer to. So I went back and looked about, did she not file a resolution against the senator from Portsmouth? While I personally feel there was no factual basis whatsoever for even making that overture, and obviously it was supported by the Commonwealth attorney in Portsmouth and the judge, Wednesday, January the 20th, 11:49, filed LD number 3337, a resolution of censure against the senator from Portsmouth. At 11:49, an email was sent to the senior senator from Chesterfield. You are over your limit. It cannot be accepted. You are over your limit of 12 and cannot be accepted. That was at 11:49. At 6:08 that same evening, she turned around and filed it again. And to have the unmitigated timidity to stand up on this floor and tell 38 of us that she had not done that is unacceptable to me. All this First Amendment stuff aside, hypocrisy and violation of personal integrity is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And I just honestly, in a prayerful way, as I reflect on the time, the energy, the emotions that we have spent on this issue, I prayerfully wish that she would use that energy and that time on dealing with her own emotional and mental well-being, and it would not just benefit her, but 38 others of it. Thank you, Mr. President.